28 minutes after 8 here on the AM show. Now, the National Council for Tertiary Education, we know that they've directed the closure of all colleges of education over a protracted labor dispute between themselves and governments. Well, according to regulations, the school must shut down if academic work is impeded for 21 consecutive days. And in this case, that's exactly what has happened. Let's begin to understand their issues, even as they prepare to meet government later today or the Labour Commission. I've got presidents of the association, Mr. Prince Obeyinhima, in studio this morning. He's on the show alongside spokesperson for the Ministry of Education, Vincent Eko Asifo. Good morning to you as well.
Good morning.
All right.
Good morning.
So let me start with you, Prince. Basically, what are your issues as CTAC?
Good morning to you, and let me say we are truly grateful to you, multimedia, and JoyNews for giving us this opportunity. We've been looking for opportunity on a bigger platform like this to be able to, as it were, tell our story and to diffuse the propaganda that people have, been making since we started with this whole thing. And a good morning to all the teachers, over 2,000 teachers who are across the country.
Belonging to your group?
Yeah, doing the watching. They are watching everywhere. To all the principals and to all people who have teacher education at heart and who sympathize with us. It is important to mention that what has brought us this far is our quest for government to extend to us market premium and book and research allowance. Two packages that are extended to teachers who teach in public tertiary institutions in the country. And once we are established as tertiary institutions, I believe we deserve. Firstly, you look at this document, College of Education Act 2012, passed by Parliament in the year 2012. Section 2.1. Section 2.1, that is the status of the College of Education, clearly states, and I quote, "A College of Education established under this Act is a public tertiary institution." I am not saying, and I think this one supersedes anything anybody says that the colleges are not tertiary.
But you've
going forward.
How long have you been in existence? You've been college teachers for some time now. But you've not enjoyed these two benefits that you want to begin to enjoy now, correct?
Yeah. Yes, the Act was passed in 2012.
This is 2018.
You'll recall that before even the Act was passed, lots of injustice and discrimination had been done to us. You'll recall that in 2002, when President Kufuor saw the need to bring our education to be at par in terms of standards with what happens globally, he put in place an Amendment-led Educational Reform Committee. And one of the recommendations that he came out with was to, as it were, upgrade the then training colleges, which were 38, to tertiary college of education. So, in practical terms, the exercise even started in 2004, and the first batch came out in 2007.
Okay, so let me go directly to my question. Sure. Why are you striking when really this is not something that you've been enjoying that has ceased? But you want the government to bring you on board?
We're asking for it because continuous denial, the members of CTAC market premium and book and research allowance, is a slap in the face of justice. Because when you look at 1992 Constitution Article 24, Section 1, it makes it clear that if you are an employer and you employ two people who come on the job with the same qualification and skill, you have no right whatsoever, whether you are government, you are individual, to decide to discriminate against one in terms of,
so you feel you've been discriminated
slighted,
against? Okay.
Cheated, maligned for far too long.
So how have you communicated your concerns in the past? How have you requested for what you're demanding now in the past?
What happened was, when the Act was passed in 2012, we needed to, around the time, work to make sure that the operational documents that would be needed to keep the colleges running were in place. And here, I'm talking about the harmonized statutes of the colleges, harmonized conditions of service for the colleges, and then harmonized scheme of service for the colleges. These are things that are used to run every tertiary institution. So the fact that we have passed the Act, if these things are not in place, the colleges cannot work.
When
the Act was passed, the Ministry of Education then put in place a transitional team under the auspices of the National Council for Tertiary Education that saw to it that all these things had been done. And indeed, pay structure in line with even the new job description and the entry behavior.
So this was completed when?
All these things were done, so the migration properly and practically took effect in October 2016, when we had to embark on a similar strike action to ensure that it was
Let me bring in Vincent. Why has it taken you, and first of all, let me ask, why are you not paying attention to their concerns until we got to this critical point of the colleges being shut down?
Well, let me say a very good morning to you once again, my brother Prince, and to your cherished viewers. Let me state that it is not true that government have not been paying attention to the concerns of colleges of education, tutors or teachers of Ghana. The truth of the matter is that when their concerns were being tabled to government, what government did was that at the interim, we decided to pay them a market premium of 20%. What it means is that we withdrew the 15% retention premium that were previously paid to them. That was the first commitment on the part of the government as far as their concerns are concerned. Number two, government also proposed to them or offered that early 2019, government and CTAC is also going to reopen negotiation so that their concerns of about 120% that they claim to get from government would also be addressed. The Ministry of Labour and Employment had to set up a 10-member technical committee, which CTAC themselves were part of that committee, to make sure that they will bring out figures going forward so that it can or it could be inculcated into the national budget.
Okay.
So these steps tells you that there have been a clear-cut commitment.
We will continue our conversation from exactly where you've ended, but we have to cross over to the Ghana Institute of Journalism, obviously because of what happened, particularly yesterday. Maxwell Agbagba is joining the rector, Professor Kwamina Kwanzaa-Edu, for a conversation.
As the English say sometimes, it's really much ado about nothing, or making a mountain out of a molehill. The real issue is this, that for as long as I know, I've had dealings with GIG, there has been a system in place. When students gain admission into the university, and this is an arrangement elsewhere as well, they are told that they have to pay what is called academic facility user fee, which is set in conjunction with government. Government actually approves those fees.
Okay, so we have to apologize. That wasn't supposed to happen, but we will hopefully can rejoin Maxwell Agbagba. All right, so our feed is back. We join Maxwell.
And that is by a due date in first semester, and then the remaining 20% by a due date in second semester. If you are a continuing student, you pay 60% of that amount and by a due date in semester 1 and 40% by a due date in semester 2. That has always been the arrangement. That is still the arrangement. Let me take the opportunity to correct that misinformation going on in the media that students have been asked to pay 100% of their fees. It has never been the case. I do not know why that's been spread, but it has never been the case. We are not unreasonable. So that is the thing. And so we said to students, we will give, there is a due date, because you cannot run any institution on an ad hoc basis. You need to plan for planning purposes and for doing the right thing. We will give you a due date by which you should pay and then register. When you pay and register, you are a student. And so you are entitled to everything that a student gets, which includes ability to attend lectures, write exams, and all of that. So we said to them, we have a due date, do this. Some did, some didn't. We said, okay, we will extend it by a certain date. If you don't, you pay a penalty. We did, some didn't. Then they came pleading. So we sent information and said, look, this is it. Okay. And then they came pleading. So we said, okay, we will extend it for you again. Then we extended it.
Sincere apologies. Let's come back to the studio and continue our conversation on CTAC. Vincent, you were in the process of explaining to us that you actually have a roadmap to addressing these issues. Absolutely.
So the two things that I mentioned has been the two commitments that government have been able to give to CTAC. Because for any payment to be done to CTAC, the Financial Management Act of this country stipulates or is clear as to how those payments will have to be made. Government cannot pay in vacuum. We have to make sure that it is in the national budget before we could pay them.
So let's get something clear. Has government agreed to pay the book and research allowance?
I am sure that government engaged them and told them that at the interim, for the market premium, they are going to pay them 20%.
So Prince,
for the books and research allowances, it is still under discussion, which they themselves are supposed to agree as to how much are supposed to pay to them.
So you've agreed on a certain percentage for the premium, the market premium at least. Correct?
Let me quickly make some input here. Vincent mentions that they offered a package to us, that 20%, and that they were going to reopen in 2019. I wish to state that if you do the mathematics, if you are taking 15% from my salary, and then you replace it with 20%, in effect, my salary is going to see upward adjustment of only 5%. So you don't go out there and create impression that you are giving me 20%, when indeed you are giving me 5%. Then, Vincent, you were not there. We explained to them,
that's
and
not
the
the point.
Fair Wages and Salaries Commission chief who leads the government team agreed to that. So Vincent should not create that impression.
So tell us what has been agreed with connection with the market premium before you move on. Before you move on, so it's 5%. It's 5%. Until when?
That is what government's final position was. And let me also say that Vincent should do the ministry and the people who are doing the who are doing the watching, good service by giving them the exact information that is on the table. Because when we went for the book and research, for the book and research allowance, Vincent says we are discussing and we are yet to agree, which is not true.
What's the position?
Complete falsehood.
What's the position?
If you look at the minute, duly signed by myself, who led the sector team, and then the government team led by Dr. Kwapon, who is the CEO for Fair Wages. They say that for the book and research allowance, they have no mandate from government to negotiate that one with us. And you go around telling people that is under. Whom are you deceiving? Vincent.
So if it is not fair wages, then who?
What I'm saying is the same thing.
If it's not fair wages, discussion and we are yet to agree. Okay. And he also says that a 10-member technical committee was formed. It is never true.
Of which you are a member?
Of which we are members. It's never true. The Honorable Minister of Employment and Labour Relations, Bafwewa, suggested that we form a 7-member advisory committee. The CTAC was going to be to provide 3 members, and then the government side was going to provide 4 members. And it wasn't a technical committee. It was an advisory committee that was supposed to have done their discussions, agreed on percentages, agreed on leverage, and then will advise.
So what was that formed?
That is where we declined to be part, because the terms of reference, what we ask the people to do to determine where we belong to in the tertiary fraternity, has already been done administratively by the Fair Wages. Was when you go to the Fair Wages in their books, they have all the tertiary institutions, the teachers over there, duly classified. And they have used a certain logic and principle to be able to determine steps, or define
so where are we?
Them.
So Prince, where are we today? Where are we today?
Where we are today, is that following the attitude of government, and then some of the misinformation that was put out there, which infuriated my members, to the extent of Vincent at a point in time describing my members as unreasonable and disingenuous. I don't think
I don't remember him describing your members on this program as unreasonable. Did you say anything to that?
But I've not said anything here.
So you deny?
But
never said
hold on. The truth of the matter is that he starts here and told us that they have been asking for their market premium for a number of years now. But my sister, this current administration cannot answer for the inability or failures of previous administration not to have paid you your market premium.
But that's not not good excuse.
No, hold on.
Because the ministry is one ministry. It's the Ministry of Education.
So I am making a point.
We've not had a Ministry of Education under the NDC or the previous administration.
I am making a point. What I'm saying is that this current administration, under the leadership of Honorable Dr. Matupuku Pempe, have shown a certain kind of commitment. If previous administration had shown similar commitment, we wouldn't have been where we are today. So it cannot be the case that there have been continuous denial on the part of this government, or let me say this particular administration, not to have paid you your market premium. The most important thing is that there was 2 directives from National Commission or National Council for Tertiary Education. The first directive was to the effect that their salaries are not supposed to be paid because of the illegal strike that they declared. On 31st of October, there was a petition from Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, which they themselves were at the negotiation table with. And Fair Wages and Salaries Commission wrote that petition to National Labour Commission that they want a declaration to be made. And that declaration will have to be geared towards bringing CITAC back to the negotiation table after they have declared that illegal strike. So clearly,
so the strike was declared as illegal.
The strike was declared as illegal by National Labour Commission, and Prince has been denying all that. I have a letter here. This was a letter that was written on the 15th of November 2008 by the National Labour Commission, and it was addressed to Prince himself.
Prince, did you receive this letter?
I have it.
What's the title?
Let him read
what's the heading of that?
Let him read the letter.
What's the heading of that?
The heading is that directive to return to negotiations.
Okay. Else, was there, if you don't do it, we're going to withhold your salaries?
Not yet. What National Labour Commission sought to do was that because Fair Wages and Salaries Commission was at the negotiation table and they signed rules of engagement. The rules of engagement that they signed was that you cannot declare a strike when you have not got into a deadlock. You can only declare that strike when both parties meet and say that because of our inability to be able to resolve the matters, let's declare a deadlock.
Okay. So
in the absence of that, you cannot declare
So
strike.
Prince, your strike was apparently illegal. Reason you and your members will not get the November salary.
Let me state that if we continue to position ourselves this way, it won't help anybody's cause. Firstly, we never signed any rule of engagement, and we proved over there.
So National Labour Commission is lying?
Oh, my brother. I'm saying that
this is black
the name
and white
of the
in
game,
the letter that
the
they
name
were
of the
giving to
game
you.
is evidence. The lawyer for Fair Wages and Salaries Commission was there.
I
demanded that if we signed,
so when you say
signed any such thing,
please help us
in as evidence. When I say
Prince,
that,
talk to me and my viewers,
Sure.
because we don't understand some of the technical things.
No, but
when you say you didn't sign any
didn't
rules
sign.
of engagement, what do you mean? With who?
He was trying to create an impression that we signed rules of engagement, which explain clearly that we couldn't have broken away from negotiation and all of that. And we also say we did not sign any such document.
But
if we signed,
but isn't
tender
there
written as evidence, and luckily that day he could not tender anything in as evidence. So he should stop.
Wait, hang on. But you were in negotiation with the Labour Commission or Fair Wages
Commission.
Yeah,
Yes.
we ended the negotiation.
Oh,
Okay,
now you
it's not
ended.
like-
We ended.
It's not like there was
We
deadlock.
ended. No,
Was
there
there-
wasn't deadlock. Government stated, he used the word reopen. I hope you listened to him. He said they will reopen in the first quarter of next year, so that we'll talk of other percentages that we'll put on the table. So, if you use the word reopen, what is the presupposition? If the thing is ongoing, do you reopen? We only reopen when it ends.
No, reopen
Okay. So-
after you have accepted
Let me,
the
when you were
proposal.
talking, I kept quiet.
So there
Let
are
me-
issues.
let me
I mean,
flow.
there are real issues.
And then two, we were also able to tender in as evidence minutes of 17th October meeting at the negotiation. I don't believe. Well, he has never been there.
So
Don't
talk to him. Stop talking to him and talk to me. Just talk
So
to me.
I am saying that.
So my point is,
Yeah.
you seem to have you have your positions well outlined.
We're able to
You've got a meeting today. What should we? Because you've already said that if they're not paying you your November salary, then you're not sitting in any. You're not negotiating. Do you still hold? Are you still with that same position? Because I wonder what will happen in today's meeting.
The National Labour Commission has got the power of a high court, so sort of a court. So if you are somebody who is law-abiding and you respect the very constitution that binds all of us, you wouldn't see when a court invites you, you wouldn't go.
So that's why you're going.
That's why we are going. That's why we went. They will continue to.
But are you going to compromise? Because somebody has to compromise in this case.
We are going to collaborate. And we'll make sure justice is served.
What's your expectation? What's your understanding of what's going to happen today?
We expect justice and fairness to be served.
What is justice and fairness?
That at the end of the day, you see, I was making a point. Let me state that when you look at the scheme of service for the college, these things were not designed for the sake of being there. It is clearly stated the duties and responsibilities of the teachers. We are supposed to teach setting and marking of assignment and examination questions, invigilation of examinations.
We understand. We've all been students before.
And then when we withdraw some of the services that we render, it doesn't amount to total strike.
So you're making a case.
Withdrawal. That is why the National Labour Commission that day said that the salary will have to be restored. And my brother
No, they never said so.
I wonder how.
They never said so.
I was there.
No, they never
You
said
were
so.
not there.
I have also spoken to Ofosu.
From the ministry's point of view, they are not getting paid in November because they didn't work.
Let me make a certain point.
But Prince here says that they partly work.
Before
I am saying
the
that
National Labour Commission could make a pronouncement, the ministry and then Vincent had allocated those powers to themselves.
Okay,
doing the work of the NLC,
Prince,
making pronouncement on
strikes.
And
we have to make this real quick because we don't have a lot of time.
The letter that was written by National Labour Commission, the first paragraph, it reads, the National Labour Commission writes with reference to the letter dated 31st of October 2018. Listen to the date very well. Dated 31st of October, in reference to the letter that was written by Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, in which the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission has filed a complaint against CTAC for declaring a strike. So if on the 31st of October, Fair Wages and Salaries wrote a petition to National Labour Commission, it presupposes that you have declared a strike before that particular
date.
So
in this communication, did they say that the strike was illegal?
Absolutely.
And that their November salaries would be withheld if they didn't go back?
The National Labour Commission is not having, the National Labour Commission is not having the mandate to tell CTAC members that their salaries are not going to be. It is rather the National Commission for Tertiary Education who wrote a letter or a circular to all principals of college education not to validate the salaries of CTAC.
Okay. Is this something that the ministry stands by?
Absolutely.
And that should be
National
done.
Commission for Tertiary Education.
So just before we wrap up, you were telling me what is justice and what is fairness in this case.
I'm saying that the action of the National Labour, NCTE, was completely out of law.
It can't be true.
Because you only act upon a directive or whatever it is that has been given by the National Labour Commission before you act on it.
So what are you going to the table today with?
Without even waiting for the National Labour Commission to make a pronouncement on the legitimacy or otherwise of the strike, you go ahead to say you won't pay the teachers. When you don't have that,
my dear.
What are you talking about?
What are you taking to the table today? I want to get this real quick so we can wrap up.
We are going out there. And we are going out there very confidently because the other day we went in there, we told people. When we went, the National Labour Commission did not, in any of the discussions, say our strike was illegal. And you can go for whatever it was that they came out with. We are going out there today, very confident. We know the processes.
That's very confident.
When we activate the compulsory arbitration, we know the processes. We'll end. When we end, whatever it is that we come out, any party that is aggrieved or that is not satisfied, you are open to appeals court. When you are not satisfied, you are open to the Supreme Court. We are conscious of the legal processes we have to go through to ensure that
sounds like you are ready to go the full haul.
The college teacher doesn't.
But when you go on this line, what are you seeking to? Is it the market premium? Is it the book and research, or is your November salary? Which one is priority?
I've already stated what established the colleges at tertiary institutions.
And we absolutely understand. But which one is priority?
Act 778(4) says that tertiary education shall consist of education provided in a university, polytechnic, or college of education. You cannot say in the face of this, you decide to extend market premium and book and research.
Which one is priority, just before we wrap up? Is it your November salary, your book and research?
November salary
or
is
the market premium?
We are not concerned about November salary, December. We're not concerned about that.
Thank you very much for your time.
That's also not true.
They can freeze it up to when they want.
But
okay.
so if you think by that's also not true.
They froze it. Why didn't people?
You have given a condition precedent to the National Labour Commission
because
that without those payments, you cannot go back. You cannot go back to the classroom.
I'd like to say thank you for your time.
The point is that the
we have to end here.
It's not any better than any of the teachers out there.
15th of November. No, you are being disingenuous. The people of Ghana.
Look at you.
You have given a condition.
We thank you for your time. Stay with us. We'll bring you some show business. It's brought to us courtesy Awake Purified Drinking Water, and Becky is back.